Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Excel VBA primer videos. And in this next set of videos, we are going to get an introduction to object-oriented programming. And we're going to split this particular exercise up over 3 different videos, so each one is not too long. And we're going to use this exercise to learn how to deal with objects in Visual Basic and Excel. And Visual Basic for Applications is an object-oriented programming language. If you've read the chapter associated with this exercise, you'll know that objects have properties, methods, and events. And so we're going to use this exercise to get some experience dealing with objects. We're going to learn how to use the Object Explorer in the Visual Basic Editor to research the different members of objects, the methods and the properties and the events. And to do this, I just picked a set of objects. Now, as you learn from the reading, just about everything in Excel is some kind of object when it comes to Visual Basic programming. So each sheet has a set of cells, and each cell can be referenced by an object, or a range of cells can be referenced by an object. A sheet is an object. This particular workbook has 3 sheets, each of which is an object. And the controls that we've created here are objects, and so there are some consistent rules about how we interact with objects, and we're going to be reviewing that. Now, again, just as a frame of reference, something to use as we explore objects, we're going to use comments. Now, what is a comment? A comment is something that you add as a form of annotation to a Microsoft Office document. And so, step number 1 in the set of instructions for this exercise says manually insert comments for the X, Y, and Z cells. So up here we have in B5, B7, and B9 we have 3 cells labeled X, Y, and Z. And so I'm going to go to the Review tab, and I'm going to select this cell here, cell X, as we'll call it. It's also been named X. And I'm going to say this is the X cell. And then you'll notice it puts my name there, or my identifier, N. Jones, which I've used to log on to this computer. And then I'm going to click on this cell and click on New Comment, and we'll say this is the Y cell. And then finally, this is the Z cell. And so the way a comment works, once you've added a comment to a cell, you get this little red triangle up in the corner of the cell indicating that there's a comment there. And as I hover the cursor over that cell, you can see that pop up. You can also click on a button up here that will turn on all of the comments, and toggle it again to turn them all off. So now we've created some comments. We're going to do a little exploration on how we can deal with these comments using an object-oriented approach. So each sheet has a set of comments, which we call a collection. As you may recall from the reading, a group or set of objects is called a collection. And there's one collection of comment objects per sheet, which is called the comments collection. And so step number 2, now that we've added some comments here, it says add code for the num comments button to display the total number of comments on the sheet using the message box. So to do that, we don't know yet how to do that. We're going to figure that out. So we're going to click on the Developer tab, go into design mode, and then we're going to double click on this num comments button, and of course that pops us over to the Visual Basic editor. And at this point we need to somehow figure out how to determine how many comments there are, and display that using message box. So to do that, we're going to go right up here, right underneath the add-ins menu. There's this little box that has some colored symbols floating above it. This is the object browser. You can also launch that by pressing the F2 key. And what this does is this gives a list of all of the object classes. That's what you call a type of object, as a class, that are associated with Excel. Now, there are some objects which are associated with Visual Basic in general, VBA. Not too many, but there are a few. No matter which application in Microsoft Office you're using, and you can look up some that are general to Microsoft Office, but we want to focus on the Excel, the Microsoft Excel objects. And you notice I've already done a search here preparing for this. So if you go up to this little search bar and we type comment and hit the enter key, what it does is it lists all of the things, all of the objects, properties, methods, and so forth, which are somehow linked to the word comment or comments. And so, for example, if you just browse down here, a range object has a comment member. And so when I click on that, down here it says members of range. So a range object corresponds to a cell or group of cells. And I look down here and I can see, let's see, there's an add comment member. Now, by the way, as we explore the members can be, members of an object would be methods or properties, and in some cases events. And the ones that have the little green flying, it looks kind of like a brick, next to it, that icon, that's meant to be an object in motion, an object doing something, and that by definition is a method. So these are methods, and the one with the little hand, or the members with the little hand looking down a list, those are properties. And so there's an add comment method to a range that might come in handy in a minute. There's clear comments, and there is a comment object, or excuse me, there's a comment property associated with a cell. And so what this means is a range, one of its members, one of its properties is the comment associated with that. And if you double click on that, excuse me, if you go to the definition, oh, that didn't work. I'd have to find it up here. So if I go up here and I find the comment object itself, these are the members of the comment object. So these are the properties and methods that we can figure out. So again, what we're looking for is some way to display the number of comments on the sheet. Now it might make sense to actually look at the worksheet object. So here's the worksheet object, and it has a comments member. You'll notice this one has events. So these little things with a lightning bolt next to them, these are events. So, as you recall, an event is something that happens to an object. Getting struck by lightning would certainly qualify as an event. And so if we go down, there's a comments object. And that's what I was looking for a minute ago. If you, let me show what I just did. So if you go to worksheets and then down to comments and click on that, it says, it lists down here a link and if you click on that, that brings you to the members of a comments object. Now notice that this particular member associated with the worksheet is comments plural. It has an S on the end. Whenever you see the name of an object with an S on the end, what you're looking at is a collection. So a comments, each worksheet has a comments object, which is a collection of comment, singular, objects. Okay, and so now we're looking at the comments collection of a worksheet, and notice it has a property called count. In general, every collection has a count property. The count property is an integer, actually a long, representing the number of objects in the collection. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back here and we're going to say sheets 1. So we're in the first sheet. Dot comments dot count. Oops, I forgot. Now I need in front of that, I need to put message box. We're going to display this with message box. All right, so what we have here is we're looking at sheet number 1 at its comments collection and its count property. Now, as you may recall from the reading, the way you reference a member of an object is with a period. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually referencing there's each workbook has a collection of sheet objects called sheets. You can also reference that as worksheets. Either one works. And when I index that with parentheses using the number 1, that means I'm referencing sheet number 1. And I do dot comment, so that represents the comments property, which is itself another object. So now since the comments property is another object, I can do dot count again to reference the count property of the comments collection. So this should show us the number of comments on the sheet. Go back to Excel, exit design mode, and it says 3. And if we want to use a little trick we learned last time, we can say double quote the number of comments equals double quote space ampersand space. So we're going to make our message box a little more helpful here and have it actually give us a message that says the number of comments equals 3. So I want to mention something else here. So again, we're referencing the sheets collection, and there are a couple ways you can do that. You can either do the index, or you can actually list the name of the individual object in that collection. So in this case, if you look down at the tab here, the sheet we're looking at is called sheet 1. And so instead of typing its index, you can also reference an individual object in a collection using its name. And so we'll go back and we'll say no comments, and that still works. So you can do it. You can do it either way. So what did we learn through that? We learned that we can use the object browser to explore the methods, the properties, and the events associated with objects and collections. Which a collection is itself an object. It happens to be a set of objects, but it also a collection itself has properties and methods. And so we're off to a running start here. Let's go back and look at the next step. Add code for the display text button to display the text in each of the comments using the message box. So here we go, and we are going to double click on this button. This gets us back to the Visual Basic Editor, and now we have 3 cells, X, Y, and Z cells, each of which has a comment associated with it, and we want to just take that, whatever we've entered for that comment, and pop that up using the message box object. So let's go back to the object browser, and we're going to look at first of all, we'll look at a range object. So here's the members of range, and it has a comment object associated with it. And if we want to look at the properties and methods of a comment object, you'll notice that there's a method called text. Now you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't that be the property? Well, sometimes Visual Basic gets a little weird in that regard. So let's explore that. If you right-click and do help, right-click on something and select the help command, this is going to pop up. Let me pull this over here and make it a little smaller so it fits the screen. Excuse me for a second. There we go. Comment.text method sets the comment text, and so you can use this method to change the text associated with a comment. So you can give it a new text string if you want for an existing one. And however, that is optional. The new text, or excuse me, the text argument that you pass to that is optional. And the return value is a string, and it actually, if you call this method without giving it any arguments, it will actually return the current value of the text property. And so, yeah, let's give that a shot. So let's go back to our code and say, whoops, excuse me, I'm typing in the wrong place here. So I'm going to go right here and type range x dot comment and then dot text. And if we just do it just like that, that should return the current text value. We need to put that in the message box. So we're just gonna keep it simple here, and then I'm gonna copy that to the clipboard and then paste it twice. We'll change this to Y. We'll change this to Z, and that should pop up in order: the X comment, the Y comment, and the Z comment. All right, so let's save our changes, go back here and select, this is the X cell, this is the Y cell, this is the Z cell. Now, in terms of what that does is not terribly helpful. We can always just put our cursor right here and see those comments, but we're learning how to use objects and how to reference them in our Visual Basic code. Okay, so let's suppose let's do steps 4 and 5, and then we'll finish this part of the exercise. And I'm going to do a little bit out of order. I'm going to do step 5 first. It says add code for the delete comments button that removes all the comments from the X, Y, and Z cells. So let's go into design mode and double click on delete comments. And again, let's go here and we're going to look at the members of the comment object, and we're looking for something that would get rid of that comment, and it's pretty obvious. There's a delete method associated with comment object. So we should be able to go right here and type range x dot comment dot delete, and this is a method, so it's something that an object does. In this case, it deletes itself. And so then I'm going to select that line, copy it twice, and change that to Y, change that to Z, and save our changes. And this should delete those 3 comments. So we'll exit design mode and select delete comments, and you'll see now those comments are gone. Okay. Now we're going to go back to step 4, add code for the insert comments button to generate a new set of comments for the X, Y, and Z cells. So we're at the beginning of this exercise, we manually inserted comments for the X, Y, and Z cells, and now we're going to do that using Visual Basic Code. So go into design mode, double click on insert comments, and we're going to go back here and remember one of the first things we found when we were looking at the members of a range object is there's a method here called add comment. And if we right click that and select the help option, it'll bring up the documentation associated with that. And you can look down here and see an example, worksheets1.range e5.add comment current sales. So you can add a new comment to a cell using this add comment method, and you pass it an argument, which is a text string, which is the new text you want for the comment for that cell. So let's go back here, and we're going to say range, whoops, darn it, I don't know why that keeps doing that on me. Let me jump back here. Range x dot add comment space. This is the Excel. We'll just use the same comment we did before. And then again, I'm lazy, so I'm just going to copy and paste that in. We're going to change that to Y, Z, Y, and Z. So now this code should add a comment to the X, Y, and Z cells. Let's go over here and exit design mode. We'll save our changes first in case we crash. And we'll select insert comments. And there it is. Delete comments. Gone. Insert comments. There they are again. Num comments. Display text. And there we go. So at this point, we have successfully completed steps 1 through 5, and that will conclude this portion of our comment exploring objects exercise.